the media file, right?
Yeah.
The WMDs.
because I want I wanted to have as big a picture as I possibly
Well, I
can.
use 1280 by 720, but I press the YouTube button, which makes it MPEG-4.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but it probably shrinks it down, which is why everything on mine says high def and a lot of yours don't.
Mine say high def, the new ones I put up.
Well, I don't know how to do it, so I know this is old Cam.
And this is not a spring chick. And today we're going to be talking about...
Well, the dagger was not stuck in the heart of socialized medicine. The Democrats have decided that the President of the United States can they know that what they're talking about was unconstitutional. They can't mandate people buy anything in this country. So, and it's going to be tossed out by the courts. So they today decided that last week the Republicans were shouting at the top of the lungs. They were lying to everybody. This is not a takeover of health care, and today they're all talking about, the talking points are taking over health care to save this nation.
If you're kind of clueless and you're going, what in the world are you talking about? See, in December, they were talking about, well, healthcare, right? And they were trying to jam things through. They said, oh, don't worry, there's a new Congress that's coming in, and so they're going to repeal healthcare.
Yeah, well, the first thing the Congress did in the House was repeal the healthcare. Harry Reid won't let it come up for a vote in the Senate because he knows that if they filibuster it, it looks horrible for 23 Democratic senators. Okay, the unique thing is that all of these senators that won election in Republican districts because they got pissed off at the Republicans are up for re-election.
Got pissed off at the Democrats, you mean?
No, they were pissed off at the Republicans were pissed off at the Republican senators, so they kicked them out of office.
Because he didn't vote like they wanted.
They didn't vote like they wanted to. They were spending too much money. So what happened is the Democrats, they put in, spent money like it was water. They were told not to do health care. They were told, Manchin, for instance, was put in as replaced Senator Byrd. Right off the bat, he supports Obama on all the stuff that he said he was going to not support him on.
Is that like Brown?
Yeah, so he's
Brown said he was not going to be a rubber stamp for the president.
Yeah, so he's now going to be a rubber. Brown basically votes on all the spending bills. Brown, Snow, and Collins will vote with the president on spending money anywhere, and they're all from conservative states where they don't like spending money. But they said all 23 state are either in red districts or from districts where they're moderates, where the independents run the states, and they've got 6 senators retiring on the Democratic side. So they figured that it could be as many as a 20-state sweep, which puts the Republicans over the filibuster side. And if they know that happens, this president is dead in the water on any of his social programs. So this morning they made the announcement there, in order to save the American people from the Republican Party and stop the death of innocent children. There aren't any children dying because you get emergency care no matter what. There won't be emergency care when you have socialized medicine, but now they've got it. But they're going to, the President of the United States, through executive orders, can basically order the healthcare system paid by the federal feds to be opened up to every citizen in the United States and put every citizen on those rolls. Yeah. They can't be, but if they do that, it will be more easily managed. They can control the cost and make it affordable for everyone. And insurance companies will love it because the insurance companies, which won't exist anymore because there's no need for them because the federal government, that's the trick is, they don't get the idea that if they put everybody under Medicare or Medicaid, whichever the federal thing is, the insurance companies have no reason for existence anymore.
Oh, little point.
And they,
little point.
How are you going to pay for it, they said this morning? Well, from the savings that we're going to have, that we won't be spending as much money on health care. And they said, when are those savings going to take? Well, it will be at least a decade.
Yeah.
A decade of a system that doesn't work now only being made worse because there's million more people put on. All of the things they said before, which they couldn't get through, which was the single payer thing, are all back on the table, except this time it's a done deal. All the president has to do is to sign the executive order, and everyone in this nation gets put on the government health care system. Yeah, and then what happens, they said that, well, you don't need to worry because, those greedy insurance companies,
Yes.
I wish 90% are nonprofit, as they said this morning, will all be out of business.
What do you mean they're not nonprofit?
90% of the insurance companies, they said, are nonprofit organizations.
Really?
The money goes back into the insurance because they're like co-ops and things.
Oh, interesting.
You know, where businesses join together in order to keep the healthcare costs down, so all the money is shipped back in to keep the healthcare costs down. So that so that only like 10% of the insurance companies are for profit, and so if 90% are not for profit, the healthcare costs are being ran up by the 90% that are not for profit because it costs money to do all this stuff.
Yeah.
It's why you have the best medical treatment system in the world. It's why the world leaders that have socialized medicine come here. It's why the British, who have socialized medicine, which is basically being tossed out the window because they're talking about now about turning certain aspects of the socialized medicine to insurance companies now. Because they can't pay the bills. What happens is when you have to wait 6 months to have a tooth extracted, British have the worst dental system in the world because you can't get your teeth worked on. But don't worry, under the new system, which will be the new Affordable Health Care Act, unlike the old Affordable Health Care Act, which no one likes, they'll all love this one, you can wait 6 months to have a tooth extracted. You can basically spend, I think now you spend like 7 or 8 hours if you got a broken bone waiting in emergency wings. Those emergency wings won't exist in the new system. The private practice, the doctor that you go to, he won't exist anymore because he's got to opt out of the system like they did in Great Britain. All over the world, the doctors opt out of their systems and you have less doctors to provide for more people. Which means you get worse health care. Why do you think the rich have such much better health care in foreign countries? Because it's the doctors that aren't in their system because they can't, they have to pay their bills. You can't pay your bills on what the government pays to have things done. You got to do, 140, 200 people a day you have to treat.
I know, an awful lot. Well, and see, part of it is the medical care costs are high for a couple of reasons. One is insurance, right? Medical malpractice.
That's basically it completely goes. I mean, before someone, I think like people don't remember Charlie Finley who owned Oakland A's, he basically created malpractice insurance because doctors were being put out of business because they were being sued. We have basically they know that the Republicans are going to introduce legislation on malpractice insurance. They're going to introduce legislation to make insurance portable across state lines, which basically they can't really do because states have states set what goes on inside a state, which they never, the Democrats, Republicans never bother to tell you that you can't carry your insurance from California to New York because California's laws don't allow it and New York's laws don't allow it and the federal laws can't order it to be done.
Oh.
It's just
I do remember one of my friends when she got pregnant, she was actually here in the state of California, was moving to Idaho, and so she had to stay in the state of California, right, because she was already pregnant to have her baby, because if she went to Idaho, she said it wouldn't work or something.
Yeah.
And so it probably has something to do with
it's the same thing with tort reform. Neither the Democrats nor the Republicans tell you that you can't do tort reform on a national scale. Because each state has its own bar association, and there's no such. There's a national bar association, but it's just a bunch of people like the ACIU that sits there in an office and has no real power over everything. The states have control over tort reform, not the federal government. It's not the domain of states' rights. Basically, Obama can't undo states' rights by executive orders. He can an executive order only affects things on the level that the federal government is involved with. The federal government is not involved with running the state legislature. So therefore they can't tell the state legislature how, I think that I don't think you're charging enough money for your lawyer's fees, so charge more money. Well, they can't tell them that. Or you're charging too much, stop doing it. Can't do it because it's not in the federal domain, it's the state's rights. A lot of what the Republicans want to do to make things better is their physical impossibility. It has to be a state-by-state thing, which is being done, which is why the Democrats want to have the president by executive order simply across the board put everybody onto one system. Then there's nothing the Republicans can do. If they go, well, we're going to have tort reform in the state of California, well, it's irrelevant because the government now has control of the total healthcare system, so therefore, you know, if you're suing anybody, you're suing the federal government, which they said lawsuits will go up. They'll go to they said, I love this morning. They said that the Trial Lawyers Association basically controls the Democratic Party, and you would think that they would be the most pissed off about having a federalized system where everybody is treated. Well, they'll just sue the federal government and settle out of court on everything. So basically they said they expect the trial lawyers to make a fortune settling out of court with the federal government on malpractice things. Because there won't be malpractice insurance anymore, because why do you need it? Because the feds are in control of everything. There'll be malpractice insurance for private lawyers only, for private doctors.
Private doctors.
But the people that go to private doctors in those foreign countries don't tend to sue the doctors, because then they don't get treated by any doctor, and they don't want to be on a government health care program.
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah, so.
Ah, I see.
I know, it's just like when the Democrats.
So then maybe government health care is better then.
Yeah. You know, they said there'll be assembly line abortion factories.
Well, you know, part of it is when they do things like that, it changes. I know I had a friend in South Africa, and they joked about them cutting people up all the time. I'm like, why are you saying that? She says, well, it's like, it's quicker just to like cut us open and then do the thing and then they outpatient us.
Yeah.
I'm like, because usually like here in the United States, we would, you know, like have it tested, try this, try that, because like actual surgery, they try and, as far as I was concerned, they tried to do that only if they had to.
You can basically broken bones, all this stuff. Socialized medicine is a disaster, because what it is, they try to cover everybody with they don't have as much to work with, so they limit, you will have less health care than you have now. Mm-hmm. The law forbids, state laws forbid hospitals from turning a person away from an emergency room. So it's forbidden.
Here's for example, now I haven't experienced this, but I've heard this. So for example, I have heard that it takes less to do a C-section on somebody, time-wise, for them than to have a natural childbirth.
Which is why doctors do C-sections on women, because there's massive amounts. They've already said that certain drugs, the government is already ruling that a lot of drugs for senior citizens are no longer going to be allowed. Mm-hmm. They're working on over-the-counter drugs that you can get at department stores, grocery stores, drugstores. They want them gone, because they want to be able to control. If you're able to get that, then you're not going to take the other stuff that they can control. So they want them removed from the shelf. So you're going to have a less supply of things that you need to keep you healthy. Like I said, remember, the government is the people that decided DDT was bad. The instant they decided to stop using DDT, malaria went up.
Oh, interesting.
George Clooney wouldn't have had malaria if DDT would have been able to be used on the bugs, because
George Clooney got malaria.
He's got malaria. I mean, I've got malaria. I know what that's like too. So, but the Republicans basically took everything for granted, and they did an end run around them again today, and they're all smug jackasses. We've won this battle. We're going to have socialized medicine. If we have to do it to save the healthcare system of this nation, and they're not even calling it. They're flat out calling it help socialized medicine now.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Now that's a new one.
Well, because there's no longer even hiding it. They're not hiding like this morning. Well, everybody knows Obama is a socialist. Yeah. The left wing, the progressive wing of the Democratic Party is socialist, but we have to save this nation from Sarah Palin and the Tea Party people and the Fox Network. That's the only way to save the healthcare system, is to dismantle it totally and turn it over to the bureaucrats to decide your healthcare. So, I mean, we told Republicans that they were a bunch of, this is the big one, that if you spell Democrat asshole, what do you spell Republican? Moron? I mean, the Republicans, the Democrats, how many, since the election, they've been telling everybody. I mean, you can't turn on a Obama-supporting news organization without hearing that he's going to run everything by executive order. He's going to do an end run around Congress.
See, part of it is, it's not like we are not anti-politician. we're not anti-Democrat, we're not anti-Republican. We're like trying to share with you what's going on in between the lines, and we will, in between the lines and the lies, and we will tell you what.
There was a Freudian slip where she said in between the lies. Okay, a politician is, okay, Mark Twain, how do you know when a politician is lying?
They open their mouth.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
Basically, I think what Will Rogers said, that that he had never met a dishonest man until he met his first politician.
Yeah, so we'll shine the light on things that we see happening, not happening, and different things, because some things are totally ridiculous.
Well, I mean, ridiculous. It's just like the Republicans are completely ignoring the fact that the Democrats are actually going to suspend the First Amendment of the Constitution. They are absolutely putting pamphlets out of what you can and cannot say on news now.
See, now, isn't that ridiculous? See, so part of it is we'll tell.
But no, it's just being done, and the Republicans are laughing it off. It's a joke. It's not a joke. Okay, we're going to use the guy for Representative Cohen of Tennessee, who basically, he said that, he basically associated the Republicans with being Nazis, but he did say something that was appropriate. That if you keep doing the same thing over and over enough times, people will just simply, join in and say the same things. If every news organization in the country pounds away with the political correctness on words that can't be used, you're going to feed it being done in the schools. They're not going to use those words. They're going to be stricken from the alphabet. And the only people that eventually will know those words. Remember, people under a certain age in our country, because the school system can't read anymore.
Oh, that's true.
And since you can't read,
I mean, it sounds like something from biblical times, or like under a communist rule. You cannot.